What's going on, minigun fans? My name's Minigun the Notable, and this is the Luke the Notable manual. Stick around for the next 3 days, and you'll be an expert on the minigun, able to slay anyone in Fortnite.
Or else you will die.
And continue on your pointless and minigunless life. However, I'd be really happy if you stayed. I've got a nice mid-roll ad later and I'll make some money from that. But let's... Number 1 of the minigun manual, we have to look at the origins of the magical minigun. The minigun first came into Fortnite at 0.4 content update. I really want to know what Fortnite looked like before this. It's just pointless. If there was no minigun, point to play Fortnite. Yep, if you had 999 bullets, you could... You're sitting there at home thinking that that sounds a little bit too overpowered. It's... yeah.
No.
The minigun sort of got to the point where I would just use it to scare other players. In this match, the only other guy got scared and was lost in the storm for my easy win. All thanks to the glorious minigun. You might know the minigun was changed. The minigun would overheat, could use it to spray in close range a little easier. They also changed the sound. I don't know. I'll just play them back to back real quick. Let me know which minigun sound you like better with the poll that should be flashing on your screen right now. Personally, I think I like the old one better, but that could just be the sound. The new minigun definitely does not dominate the battlefield as well as the old minigun, but it still has a lot of damage potential. It's currently the highest damage per second weapon in all of Fortnite, unless you count the purple minigun, but that's currently vaulted, so I don't count it. And finally, with Fortnite version 9, the minigun was made just a little bit stronger. In this update, the minigun's fire rate and style stayed the same. They simply just increased its damage. And now you're all caught up on your history lesson of the modern purple tactical SMG, though Fortnite does change all the time, so it could change again.
Now that we've covered all the basics of your training, it's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
I, Luke the Notable, minigun expert and holder of 13 prestigious minigun awards. Well now, what are you aiming at? Insider minigun tips I've kept secret for generations. The minigun is easily my favorite weapon, but it's not good in every situation. You have to understand where the minigun shines and where the minigun is actually pretty terrible. And if you listen, by the end of this video, you should be an expert too. And before you can truly understand how to use the minigun, we should start with some minigun odds. Let's start with the main thing you should already know about the minigun. I told you before, it's got the highest damage per second in all of Fortnite. At 252 damage per second, a golden minigun would waste a full health man easily in 9 seconds. And that's essentially the power of the minigun that you're trying to harness. It has the highest damage per second in the game, so you use it for that. Also, the minigun, due to its massive damage per second, is incredibly effective at slashing down soccer skin building. If a little Jimmy grabs high ground, he can just break down his entire structure with minigun magic. It's virtually impossible to outbuild a minigun, especially in close range. The damage per second is just too high to overcome for many players. Here's a perfect example. I got pounced on by this guy and he took the immediate high ground. However, with my minigun, I was able to overcome his building and get the kill.
12 seconds later.
For the minigun, and as you can see, it was much harder for me to get into his box. Luckily for me though, he was already low from a previous encounter and I killed him. The point here is you need to take your enemy by minigun.
You picked the wrong house, fool!
Hey, knows you have a minigun, then your effectiveness in combat is going to plummet. But if you can surprise your enemy and get some sweet minigun damage, it's likely the other guy won't even have time to react. One other important minigun tip is you want to always try to use this thing in close range.
Well, no shit.
The damage per second is unreal, but the accuracy on this thing is pretty bad. So for medium range, you won't be able to rip open boxes as easily. A minigun is also nowhere near as scary from medium to long range, so other players won't be taken by surprise, and you'll probably end up dead. Just for your own reference, here I'm going to show the perfect candidate for a minigun spray. This player boxed himself up in a wooden structure, which the minigun sliced right through. He was also a default, but that's irrelevant. Though in the same game, I'll show another example that doesn't really work out as well, mostly because I got shot for almost all my health. You gotta use the minigun in close range, which means you gotta get up close and personal, and sometimes that means taking damage, so the minigun doesn't work when here I'm at low health and medium range, so this is definitely the time I want to be using the minigun. In this particular clip, I held the high ground for a little bit, but eventually the other player did kill me. Now that's always true, there are exceptions to the minigun medium range rule. For one, the minigun is very good at shooting players mid-air. Almost everyone I shoot with this technique runs away scared and damaged. It's also pretty great regardless of range when the other player has to build up towards you, like using the final circle in a 1 vs 1. Most times, the final circle in Fortnite is all about movement, and the minigun makes movement much harder. If you can use a final circle moving storm to force another player into your minigun bullets, there's almost no chance he's gonna make it. When the minigun was first introduced in the 2.4 update, the description read as this: control the battlefield with sheer fire battle royale. And if you use the minigun correctly, you do just that, controlling the battlefield to get the victory. However, as I've said multiple times in this video, the minigun is perfect, and it can be stopped. And now it's time to talk about how you can stop the minigun. Let's go over some defensive techniques. I wanted to sort of talk about offense first, because now you should understand how the minigun gets kills, where it's most effective. And one of the first things you probably should have noticed just by watching this video is that the minigun doesn't spray through metal that well. Here I have my loveliest, she'll be helping me demonstrate some of these minigun techniques. It takes quite a lot of bravery to stand firm against.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
This is a common defense against the minigun in most matches. As you can see, despite the Tor's turbo build, the minigun does a really good job of poking through and just ultimately making her life really difficult. Those little bits of damage that poke through might not seem like a lot, but they add up pretty quickly. Just imagine for a second when the final wooden structures. So, obviously, one very simple way you can increase your life against a minigun is by switching to a better material. You can see on screen that just by going with wooden structure, she has a little bit better protection against the minigun. Even pushing directly into my minigun is a little bit easier just switching to stone. And of course, in a metal box turbo building, it's pretty hard for the minigun to poke through, especially if you're using good box management like Tor's and you're sitting behind something like a cone or stairs. And because the minigun no longer fires indefinitely, you can just out-turbo build the minigun with something like stone or metal and then take the high ground. That, of course, should make a lot of sense. Better materials, better defense against the Spraymaster minigun. But what if a minigun player hops in your box? Remember, that's how I get most of my kills. And the one key thing you have to remember here is that the minigun, while it has a ton of damage per second, its damage per shot is pretty. So one way of countering a minigun is coming at it with something that does a lot of damage in one tick, like a pump. As soon as I realized,
when you try your best but you don't succeed.
Many months later.
Try to outspray a minigun in your own box. It is literally the best option for spraying. Everything else in the game won't be able to do nearly enough damage in enough time, assuming all other things are equal like health. And some of you may be wondering about whether or not to take up for a gold minigun. I've been showing the purple minigun on all of these clips. Each bullet out of the gold minigun is only slightly better than the purple minigun, but you gotta remember that the minigun fires a ton of bullets, so it actually makes a big difference to have a gold one over a purple. You can see here the purple minigun, even spraying into a wooden box, doesn't do nearly as good a job as the gold one. This is also a pretty controlled environment, and it's good to know that even a purple minigun with the element of surprise would be indistinguishable from a gold one. To recap, the minigun is a powerful weapon that might not be as straightforward to use as you might think. But hopefully throughout this video you've learned some helpful techniques for using the minigun, and also some nice ways you can avoid being sprayed into oblivion. Not enough people pick up the minigun. I truly think it's one of the best ways to turn the tide in a build fight in Fortnite. And hopefully a few more of you, with this sacred manual, will master the magic of the magnificent minigun. If not, you can always go get comfy in the big mass grave of defaults behind Tilted. If you'd like to consume more minigun related content, make sure to subscribe to my channel by clicking the LTN logo on screen right now. I am very, incredibly, really close to 1 million subscribers, and I've already said I'm doing something pretty big, so help me get there. If everything goes to plan, we should see the 1 mil special sometime next week. So again, please subscribe. And that's finally it. It's the end of the minigun manual. Go out and kill all the defaults you can. Oh, and stay notable.